I've only gone and bought myself another car, as if I needed another one. This 2000 Golf Cabriolet here. It's a ball of junk, to be honest with you, but it's a project and one which I am looking forward to getting stuck into. Yes, the paint is appalling on it. There's an awful clunking coming from the front suspension. The wheels look absolutely gash. They are desperate looking things altogether, so they have to go. But it's all there, relatively complete. Well, entirely complete. The engine pulls really well, brakes function. It's got a dent down there. And yeah, it was dirt cheap. So, hence the reason why it is now in my possession. And this, by the way, in case anybody is wondering, was my wife's idea. She saw this for sale on Facebook Markets and she sent a message. So, hence why I now have it. So, yeah. Oh yeah, right, well let's assess the situation. So the good points are, it's got a very strong engine which is pulling really well, and it gets through the gears grand, even though the gear shift is in dire need of some lubrication. The brakes pull you up fine, there's no noises out of them at all. The interior is basically clean, just needs a little bit of a tidy up. And yeah, it's, look, again, it was cheap. So I bought a full service kit for it. So we're going to do the oil, filters, air filter, timing belts, alternator belts. Going to just go through everything on the engine, basically make sure it's 100%. The engine in question is proper old school. It's basically the GTI 1.8 block that would have been fitted to Mark II Golfs, and essentially the same engine block as what's in that Mark II Golf over there. So it didn't really change over the years. But yeah, that being said, that makes it an awful lot easier for me to work on. So now this has fuel injection, which is a bonus in that regard, because the carburetors, the purebred carburetors that were originally fitted to these, were an absolute nightmare. So I don't have to contend with that. But yeah, I'll start it up and you can have a listen to it. Oh yeah, and it's got the obligatory blow in the exhaust. Sure, why wouldn't it? Of course it has. There's only 86,000 miles on it, which for these engines, to be honest with you, is not it's not exactly Hubble Space Telescope mileage now at all. And you know, she's ticking over smoothly there and everything, so that's all positive. Just realised I need to get a power steering pump belt as well as the alternator belt. It's not a big deal, but yeah, I mean, I'm happy enough. Seems like a decent battery in it anyway as well, which is nice. So, what's the plan? Well, first things first, the bodywork needs to be sorted out. So there is absolutely no point in getting this car driving really nice and still looking like a ball of scrap. Okay, so the first thing we need to do, see if we can get that bodywork tidied up a bit and polish a bit of life back into it and see how it looks then. And after that, then we can kind of reassess the situation, then start going through the service items and try and sort out the suspension. When you hit a series of bumps on the road, it shimmies something fierce as well. So it's obviously there's a shock absorber gone, at least one. There's a broken spring on the front left, which I know about, and yeah, and those wheels, oh, those wheels, they gotta go big time. So I got a set of stock wheels for it, and like the stock alloys that would have come with this car, and hopefully I can pick up a second-hand set with usable tyres on it. Well, first things first, it's going to need a wash, isn't it? So let's just give it a general pressure wash first before we put any detergents on it, just to get the heavy debris and gack off it. Oh yeah, and I bought a new pressure washer. Trying to do this without getting saturated is not the easiest thing in the world. think the engine bay looks fairly presentable there now at the moment, so I'm fairly happy with that. So the next thing to do is to get the old bucket and sponge out and start giving it a bit more of a thorough clean and seeing how it starts to shape up. Because already now, with all of the kind of the mould and mildew gone and stuff like that off it, it's really starting to look an awful lot better. I mean, okay, it's not perfect, but you know, we're never looking for perfection on this. We're just looking for good enough. So at the moment, it's still not good enough. So let's keep going. Well, I have to say it looks a hell of a lot better. It's still a long way from being perfect. The biggest area of concern is this wing over here and the driver's door. Now, it looks like it's had a very ropey paint job there. So what I'm going to do is, I have some thinners there, okay, so I'm going to actually get some thinners onto a cloth and I'm going to wipe that down and we're going to see how it looks then and see what comes off and see what sticks around, and hopefully it'll look a bit better after I do. Now, okay, so we've thinners on the cloth here, okay, so I think we should keep going anyway. Alright, so I wiped it down with thinners and it had a limited effect. So I have now some 400 grit, 1200 grit and 2000 grit emery. So let's just spray it down with a rapid detailer here, which I always like to use to kind of lubricate things if we're going to go down this route. So we'll leave that there. I know you're not supposed to really do this in direct sunlight, but look, to be honest with you, it'll be fine. I'm not going to go too bad on it at this moment. I'm actually just using some soapy water now just to wet the sandpaper. Okay, let's give it a rinse. We'll just use the sponge here just to have a look and see how we're looking, and I'll rinse it with the pressure washer, and then we'll go for the lighter emery. See how we're looking then. I know it's not going to be perfect, but look, to be honest with you, if this doesn't work, it's going to need painting anyway. There's rust specks coming through here, so it'll at least give us a good surface to paint on. And that's already looking 100 times better. Okay, so I think it's fair to say it's definitely looking a lot more presentable. So the roof has actually come up really well, I have to say now, and that whole wing door side of things, yeah, it looks ropey, but I think I'm going to go down the route trying to paint it myself and see how well it comes up then. And if it doesn't come up well, then I'll put it down to a learning experience, and I can regroup and come up with another plan at that stage. So I'll just take you around the car now and show you where we're at. Okay, so we know it needs the wheels, it needs an exhaust, it needs a left front strut. I'll just replace the whole strut rather than trying to replace the spring. There's a few bulky little bits and pieces there as far as the paint is concerned. I'll just try and touch them up, see if I can get that dent pulled, touch up the black plastics. The interior needs a good going over, but first things first, before I do any of that, is I'm going to get the engine serviced, and at least that way then we know what we're dealing with that. So we get that old nasty oil out of it. This car hasn't been driven properly since probably about 2017, so it's a long time overdue now. So we'll get it serviced, go through everything, and then I'll be able to get some more details for you. But let's leave this video there. This is just kind of an introduction to this car and this kind of project. So don't forget to hit the subscribe button before you go, so that you can stay updated with my progress on this car and my other cars as well. There's plenty of stuff happening in the garage at the moment. So yeah, I'll chat to you soon. Thanks for watching.